Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Jess, and we're the owners of Dead Air Records, a small independent record shop right here in Liverpool.
So we're starting a podcast, which I didn't see happening, but there we go, 2025, it's happening.
So on the podcast, you can expect to see interviews with local bands and people visiting Liverpool for gigs and tours. We're going to have some performances, acoustic style, stripped back things, and we're also going to be talking about records, most importantly. So stuff from the shop, things that are brand new, some of our favourite finds, and some of the nicest things and the rarities that we get across the counter that are secondhand.
Obviously, we're feeling a little bit out of our depth, but we're going to give it our best shot. We're going to try and highlight some of the city's local talent, and we're going to really give it a good shot, yeah. So to start this off, we're going to go over some of the best albums from last year, some of the ones we've been listening to the most.
Yeah, it's January right now, so it's good to reflect back on the last 12 months of music.
For sure. It's going to be no surprise to you what I'm going for first.
Oh, what is it?
It's Pale J's Low End Love Songs, one of my favourites.
One of your favourites?
Yeah, so it's the follow-up to last year's Bewilderment.
Last year, 2023's Bewilderment.
Yeah, so quick,
that's going to catch us out a lot.
2023's Bewilderment.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant album. So this is his follow-up to that, and it's on the Coal Mine label. We love the Coal Mine label. Great bands on that label, including the Rugged Nuggets, Say She She, and Karate Boogaloo.
One of the best band names out there.
I think that's just awesome, isn't it? Karate, say it.
I forgot. Isn't it karate?
Karate
Boogaloo.
Karate Boogaloo.
Yeah.
So this is 9 tracks of dirty. So this is 9 tracks of Red Mask Mystery Soul. That's
Excellent.
how they've described it.
I do like on Coal Mine Records, and obviously this is like printed with Karma Chief as well. They always give a really nice descriptor of the record. So if it isn't something that you're familiar with, they manage to describe it really nicely in about 5 or less words, which is a challenge, I would imagine.
Super accurate as well. I mean, Red Mask Mystery Soul. Mystery Soul sounds great. So it's like funk music, lush instrumentation, just so much fun to listen to on record. He's got this falsetto voice that's like just sailing over the top of this lovely album. It's great. He wears a red balaclava, like a soul superhero. That's how I describe him.
Amazing description.
Legend. Yeah. Standout tracks are The Garden, Easily.
Lovely.
And yeah, I just love it. So
I love that when they brought that out. Sorry, just to interrupt.
You're
because
interrupted.
That's probably going to happen, and we'll get better. But I love that when they brought it out as well, like obviously building on the soul superhero comment, that they brought out the red beanie hat that then when you folded it down turned into the balaclava Pale J.
So because we don't know who he is,
yes,
for my birthday,
yeah,
I'm going to dress as Pale J in the shop. I'm going to get the outfit, and then we're going to run content saying Pale J is serving in the shop.
Okay.
And then we're going to tag him in it.
He's got a side job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to tag him in it. And then, yeah. So that's great. Okay. So in closing, one of my favorite albums of last year. Love the label. Love the artist. Just great.
Amazing.
What have you got?
What I've got, so red, but not a red superhero.
Oh, nice.
That's a really bad segue, but
it's great.
Maybe we'll get better at that as well.
I don't think so.
Okay, excellent. So one of my favourite albums from last year was Khruangbin, released through Dead Oceans.
Yep.
This one's called Ala Sala. So it actually translates to The Room, which is Spanish.
Okay.
And Laura, who's the bassist, actually said that this phrase was something that she used to, as a child, shout in the house to gather everybody into the living room. And for her, it was an approach that they took to recording this album, really. After a couple of albums, they wanted to take it back to the beginning, have it a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more intimate in the way it was recorded. So it's their 4th album. Very atmospheric, very cool album.
Yeah.
Super soulful, a bit psyche. Kind of feels like you're listening to a bit of like spaghetti western. And then each album has this window design.
Yeah.
They actually released seven variants in total on vinyl, which have all kind of become different collectible editions. And all of the images feature this a different window, which has all been captured through one of the band members' photo logs whilst they've been touring and traveling around. Yeah.
That's
and
really
then
cool.
Inside, the records are pressed with like certain colours that match to the artwork on the front. So I think it's just a really nice way of having a series of album covers that relate back to the theme that they were trying to get across
That's
and the
mad.
concept of it.
Because I've only seen that one. I haven't seen any of the other ones, but I looked them up online and they're just incredible.
They're so nice.
Beautiful.
And the colours are all this really sort of like muted, very warm, and kind of like represents what the music kind of sounds like, really.
Nice.
But yeah, amazing for like focused listening, having on at home if you've got friends around or just chilling out. Great for the morning.
Morning's
great for the last thing at night.
Yeah.
Just an absolutely beautiful and lush album from start to finish.
That's incredible. Awesome. So what have I got next then? So I'm going to speak about Ezra Collective. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy here because every time we buy it and it's gone. So yeah, Ezra Collective's follow-up to the Mercury Award-winning Where I'm Meant to Be. This is called Dance No One's Watching, right?
Yeah.
That
sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
convinced
that's right. Yeah.
that is correct.
Dance No One's Watching. And yeah, it's just a great vibe. They released it on the Partisan Records label, which again we love. Idols are on there, who we went to see.
They're great. Yeah, down at the arena.
That was awesome. Idols, who else is that? Blonde Shell.
Yeah.
You love that record?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. PSA, if you've not listened to Blonde Shell, listen to Blonde Shell.
Yeah.
It's in the shop. I can't believe it's still in the shop.
Yeah, I know.
You recommend Pale J to everyone. I recommend Blonde Shell to everyone.
Just think it's great.
Yeah. But sorry, back to Ezra Collective. This is about them.
Yeah. So they released it on Partisan. Great label again. Fronted by the Colioso brothers, TJ and Femi. Fun fact, Femi's the live drummer for Gorillaz.
No way.
So he's been working with Damon Albarn.
Great.
Said he's taught him some great work ethic, which is great.
Amazing.
So they originate from London. If you don't know, they originate from London. They came up through youth initiatives with Tomorrow's Warriors. They've gone full circle and become this huge sensation, headlining Wembley.
They're the first jazz band to ever headline Wembley as well, which, and were they the first jazz band to win the Mercury Prize?
Yeah.
First jazz band to have a #1 album?
It's mad.
They've done loads of firsts over the last few years.
It's just great. And so going full circle, they're taking youngsters to Glastonbury and stuff. And I just thought it was great. So we went to see them in November. And that was a hell of a show. And it kind of, for me, I felt like it put the album in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really feel like I got it until I saw it live. And then when I saw it live, it's like it all just sort of clicked into place. And so just a great vibe. They were talking about like anti-insecurity, trying to make people feel good. And
it was just full of joy, wasn't it?
Was.
That's the big message that they wanted to put across that night. It was about bringing everyone together in that room. They even did icebreakers, which I think is the first time that I've been asked to do an icebreaker at a gig.
At a show.
But you know what? It worked.
It kind of
set a really, really nice, friendly, joyful atmosphere for everybody in that room. And yeah, one of the most enjoyable gigs I've ever been to.
It was great. And shout out to the Apollo, being a small guy that I am. Like, I've never been there before. And they have that sloped...
Like a raked stage.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, but we were on the floor, so ignore that theatre reference.
It was like a sloped floor, so wherever I was,
I
got to see the stage, which is unheard of for me. I usually have some person stood in front of me, just like...
Yeah, the tallest person in the room tends to seek you out and then stand in front of you.
Right in front
and now
of me.
you've said it, this is going to continue.
It's going to continue.
Yeah, please, if you're watching and you're tall...
Okay,
just navigate around, Mark.
Just leave me alone. Yeah. Anyway.
But it's quite... I think it's really interesting because they've had so many firsts over the past few years. I wonder what that ripple effect will be going forward in terms of jazz and what that means for the future of jazz.
It's just incredible. And, you know, there's been some really good modern jazz bands out there, but I feel like they've really smashed it. You know, like Shabaka Hutchins and Sons of Kemet, all that type of stuff's been great. But Ezra Collective have taken it to the mainstream, which you just wouldn't have thought like a jazz band would be able to do.
Yeah, they cross a couple of genres. That means that kind of puts them in front of more people. But yeah, there's obviously tons of people out there doing incredible things for jazz, and it's just nice to see the landscape expanded a little bit more and how that sits all together.
It's great. It's great. Do you want to go on?
Yeah, absolutely, I can do. So very different to Khruangbin, but still one of my favourite albums of 2024 was Jamie XX returned after 9 years. 9 years with In Waves. So the follow-up to his debut album In Colour. This came out in September, I believe it was. And it's got 12 tracks on it. It's 45 minutes, so it's really fast-paced. It just feels like one big night out all wrapped into one record, really.
Nice.
And through every track, it really looks at different subgenres of electronic and dance music. You've got loads of collaborators on there, including Oliver Sim and Romy, who are Jamie's obviously original bandmates from the XX. But you've also got like Honey Dijon on there, who is an iconic Chicago house producer. And then one of our favourites, the Avalanches.
Saucy. Love the Avalanches.
I love the Avalanches. They also collaborate on a track on here, which I think is my favourite track on it, which is All You Children.
You got it right.
Which you probably are sick of hearing in the shop, in the house.
Every morning I'm woken up to that.
It's
Better
great.
be, better ba, better, better, better. That's
That's
my
how it
crazy
goes.
frog version.
Yeah. It sounds better than that when you listen to it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really, really good. And then when you're going through this like big night out for all the highs and lows and the dips and the tempo changes and the house music and everything just like building and building and building in tempo, it ends with this beautiful track which features Una Doherty as a collaborator who is a dancer and a choreographer.
Wow.
And Una also wrote the lyrics, and it's just all about people coming together on a dance floor, sharing in that moment.
It's a special ending.
It's a really, really special ending. It feels like it's building all the way through to this euphoric moment, and then you have Una's incredible voice on there talking about how there's the whole world in a dancer, and that when you go onto the dance floor and you see someone across the room, like, you don't know what's going on in their world and what's going on in their mind, but everyone's just like left that at the door and is escaping through this medium.
Same vibe as Ezra Collective, right?
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
It kind of shares in that core like understanding
Joy.
of music and what music can do, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can definitely tell that like Una, obviously as a dancer and a choreographer that uses her body as a medium, as an art form, that is channeled into those lyrics. And it's just, it takes you on that really, really nice journey. But you know, that's a bit of a deep kind of like take on it.
Very deep, Jess.
But for what
very
is,
deep.
yeah,
I love it.
We'll come back up a little bit. And what is a very fun album, and it's
banger,
really, really
isn't it?
nice to have on. Yeah, it's great. It's been a really, really long awaited follow up to the first one, and really excited to see what comes next.
Cool. Okay, well, my last album that I'm going to talk about came out in September. Nala Senefro, her album Endlessness. It's a follow-up to 2021's Space 1.8, released on Warp Records, legendary. As I say, it came out in September, but I think I might have listened to it every single morning in the shop, maybe for like since then, but it feels like it's been around forever. Love that record. Yeah, it's a great way to start the day. Extraordinary journey of ambient, I'd say it's like ambient textures and jazz improvisation, but it kind of never feels contrived. It feels like it's brand new but also traditional. So Nala uses the pedal harp, uses weird synths, and just creates this world, and does that thing that you love as well, where the artwork is like continued from previous albums. So I just thought it was great.
It's got quite a sci-fi vibe to it, even though it is quite jazzy and it is very atmospheric. There is that kind of like otherworldly, like I don't know, outer space style vibe to it, even though it's very laid back and very chill.
The artwork has a sci-fi vibe.
Yeah. Like someone's floating in space while listening to it.
It's just incredible. And so, Nala came from the Steam Down Collective with Shabaka Hutchins and Nabia Garcia. So just a great background.
Great collective of people to be around in terms of who you're inspired by, who you kind of like vibe off with. Yeah, such a great roster of people.
Just great. So,
and I guess like you've selected two jazz records there, but very different in the way that they are presented in that genre.
It's
and
weird
the way they sound,
because they don't really feel like jazz records. Like Ezra Collective feels. There was times at that show we were at that it felt like you were at a football gig or something. People like chanting like football.
That's true. For a gig that had no lyrics, everybody was singing along the songs.
It was mad. And then this Nala's album feels very like laid back, like Brian Eno almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, jazz, but forging in a new direction, which I just think is great. Yeah.
Lovely.
That's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
And then I have one more left.
Let's go.
So I wanted to chat a little about Magdalena Bay.
Oof.
Again, I'd love to have it here with me, but they need to press more copies. Mom and Pop Music, if you're listening,
please
press more copies. Yeah, it was released in August 2024 on Mama Pop Music. Other people on that label are Courtney Barnett, MGMT, and Metric.
No way.
And then when you kind of piece those all together, it kind of gives you an idea of Magdalena Bay in
Totally
terms of the
makes
music.
sense.
Yeah, completely. So it's very poppy, but sort of like synth pop, dance pop, and it does categorize itself in that way. But for me, it's a really heavy album. Like the synths in it at some points,
Really heavy.
they're really, really heavy, especially that opening track. Like there's huge breaks in it.
Yeah.
And it's just so rich and loads of textures to it, and it's really, really loud. Like it is like a wall of sound from start to finish.
Yeah.
And the pace is amazing. And what I do love about it as well is that it's a concept album.
Okay.
So in artwork, if you can imagine a record here. There is a figure on the front, and they have this disc sort of like going into their forehead, or maybe coming out of their forehead. Who knows? But it is a concept album, and this person that you're introduced to is called True.
Right.
And it's about their rejection of technology or a chip that's being implanted in them to upgrade them. And so True has rejected this form of upgrade and technology and is going on their self-discovery of humanity.
Nice.
And then that is the journey that you go on with the album. So again, you've got this like technology style sci-fi-esque element to it, which is coming through in the synths, and there's definitely like a bit of disco there as well.
Yeah.
And True's just having a great time through the album,
It's
and
just
so
such
am I.
a great record, isn't it?
It's really, really good.
So good. So I found out about this like through a couple of singles. Never heard of them before.
Yeah, to credit you, you put me onto this. You heard it and you were like, you're going to love this.
I just felt like a couple of the singles got released earlier in the year, and I just felt like straight away that it was something brand new that I hadn't really heard done so well before. And I just knew it was going to be one of the best of the year. And so I was waiting ages for the album to come out. And then when it finally dropped, it's long as well. It's quite a big album.
Yeah. In fact, I was re-listening to it to talk about it and didn't appreciate how long it was, and had to do it over a couple of like commutes or train journeys or things like that just to be able to like take in the whole album. It is long.
So good.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And then like all the lyrics in it explore these themes of like consciousness and identity. And yeah, just like conceptually great, lyrically great, musically great. Artwork's great. Even saw people on Halloween dress up as True with the CD like
Going out the head.
stuck to their head.
That's great.
So yeah, it's definitely hit this sort of like cultural point, like aesthetically, artistically, through music, through like the concept. And
Brilliant
yeah,
stuff.
I feel just like they've built a world with the album, and it's really nice to dive in to it. So now we're going to talk about some of the records that have come across the counter recently. That could be anything from an early pressing or a rarity. As we said at the beginning, a lot of what we do is secondhand records, which means we get to see some special things from history and that the artists have released as well. So one thing I've picked out that I saw in the shop recently is this very nice first edition of PJ Harvey's debut album.
How have I not taken this home?
I don't know,
It
but I
should
found
be.
it in the shop, and I probably need to hide it from you so it doesn't come home. So yeah, PJ Harvey's first album. This is first press, and on the day of release in March 1992, the first 5,000 copies were all numbered, and you also got a demo in here called The Demolition, which was an additional 4 tracks, which included acoustic versions of the tracks that are on the album. So this is actually a near mint condition as well. So
Beautiful.
1992, very, very nice. And then this is part of that limited edition of 5,000, and each one is numbered. So we've got number 3032 here.
So there was 5,000 of these pressed.
Yeah, so they brought out 5,000 LPs and 1,000 CDs, and both of those had the bonus edition of The Demolition as well. So this is number 3032. And then I was actually looking at the original poster for the promotion of the album, and then all the record shops that were on there, because there was only certain ones, and obviously the amount of record shops in the UK in 1992 is different to the amount now, and the only one listed there in Liverpool was Probe.
The legendary Probe
Of
records.
course.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I don't know if this one came from there. We did get it from someone who is a local collector, so
It's
this
gotta
might
be.
have come from Probe.
Yeah.
And it also came, I mean, that collection that came in was
insane.
amazing. I don't know how
Absolutely
you've
insane.
taken more home, but yeah, this was part of like a very, very special series of first presses.
Yeah.
And then the album itself actually got a repress in July 2020. So obviously if a first press is out of your realm of collecting or out of your budget, it is available to get through the repress in 2020. But yeah, just really special to see something from the 90s. Obviously the records in the 90s, if they're still in mint condition, contain or retain their value.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been a really special one.
It's just
that you
beautiful.
don't see that often, and especially in this condition.
Yeah, yeah. I love that record. It's one of my all-time favorites. And PJ Harvey, I mean, for me, probably one of my favorite artists of all time. Great tracks on this. It's Oh Stella, Sheila and a Gig. Just so many great memories for me, you know? And yeah.
And such a shift in like music at the time, like with all the sort of heavy guitar, sort of scuzzy music that was coming out.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any like women in that space, and there wasn't really many people sort of dominating that. So,
No.
and obviously Polly Jeans continued to do that throughout.
And just
her career.
constantly developing.
Yeah.
All the time, like pushing the boundaries, you know. Her last album was wild to listen to. Just incredible. But yeah, a great album. Certain things about that as well. That came from a collection from a person who seemed to have the exact taste in music as me. Like just everything in that collection that we bought was something that I would have taken home.
Yeah.
And that haunts me every day. I see it and I'm
just
like,
behind the counter staring at you.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't take it home.
Hello, friend.
Sorry.
Take me home.
No, it's staying here.
No. Okay.
But it is very nice to look at, and obviously one of the best bits is when we do get things in, we get the pleasure of listening to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is really nice.
Okay, cool.
Have you found anything that's taken your interest recently in the shop?
I have indeed.
Yeah.
So this one did come home with me.
So across the counter and straight to the collection at home.
Straight home. Yeah. Okay.
You have to do that very rarely because it's nice to keep things in the shop, but every now and then one thing slips through.
It's nice to have a business.
Yeah. Also good.
So this is A Love Supreme by John Coltrane, UK first pressing. This is now 60 years old this month.
This month, it's the 60th anniversary.
60th anniversary. We don't know the exact date that this album was released, but it was definitely January 65. Written in the summer of 64, recorded December 64, and then released.
Yeah.
And, you know, you forget when you listen to this, you forget that it's a spiritual album. Like, if you have a look on the back, there's a message from Coltrane where he talks about how it is a connection to God, and how, because he'd been a heroin addict and come off all of the drugs, gone into isolation, was a new father, and wrote this in a blast and had it all ready to go for that December and just recorded it in one go.
Wow.
It didn't take long at all. And it's a stunning condition record. A mono pressing. In the States, it was released on Impulse, but in the UK, the first pressings are actually released on HMV, or His Master's Voice.
Okay.
This came home, and let me tell you, you know, it sounds like he's almost in the room with you while he's playing. It's crazy. It's one of the best records that I've ever heard. So
yeah, we were having a listen to it, and the stark comparison of like the instruments in the background, and then when Coltrane comes in, like it's so loud and clear on it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And so that came in, and that went straight home. It's beautiful. I can't do that too often, but with this one I did, so I'm afraid not for sale.
And then you were saying you can tell on the front that it's a first press because it doesn't have the Impulse logo on.
Yeah.
Because they kept the same artwork as the US, so it's got a white circle in the top right-hand corner, which is where the Impulse logo would be if it was, I guess, a later pressing or a US pressing.
Yeah. It's a really rare thing to find, but a beautiful look at the condition of that.
It'd be so nice. It'd be quite nice because it is the 60th anniversary this month. Maybe we should put it on in the shop, do like a listening party if people would be interested in hearing a first press of John Coltrane.
Yeah. If you'd be interested, let us know. We will happily put this on after we close if you want to have a listen to it. It's great stuff.
Is it about half an hour?
Yeah.
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 Nice.
What's next?
So something else that caught my eye recently was we got a copy of the Coral Sea of Mirrors in, which was recorded at Parr Street before Parr Street Studios closed. Obviously, legendary music studio in Liverpool.
Right by us, right?
Right by us. They've moved now to Kempston Street up in the Fabric District, so they're still continuing to do what they do with artists. This particular record was pressed on a Zoetrope vinyl.
What's that?
this.
Ooh, look at that.
So it uses a pre-animation sort of film technique, whereas when it spins on the player and then you capture that through a lens, it will move like a stock animation.
Okay.
So the band have used like various bits from a music video they did along with the album to kind of like create this visual effect. Quite a few bands do this now. It is a really interesting technique. I think sometimes they're more successful than others.
Yeah.
I do like it when it has like the true movement and the animation around it, which is what they've done with this, which is nice.
That's
but
great.
yeah, it's nice to have something special and something local and a legendary Liverpool band in at the moment too. And we've seen quite a few of them, but I know not everyone has seen a kind of Zoetrope vinyl, so I thought it would be interesting to share. And
That's
we'll
pretty cool.
add a little clip of what that looks like when it's filmed as well, so you get the idea of the animation behind it.
Yeah. Coral brilliant. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. So the last ones I'm going to talk about, I have some very early Rolling Stone presses. Just incredible period in the Rolling Stones career. We have Exile on Main Street, Beggar's Banquet, and Let It Bleed. These come with the original inners, and the Exile on Main Street has all of the original postcards. I'll just see if I can get those out.
And where are these? Are these from like 68, 69?
Yeah,
around that time.
Yeah, that golden era where they just finished doing all the covers albums and things like that, which is how they kind of started off. And they just
I always forget that.
yeah. There's
yeah.
a whole period at the beginning where it's covers and doing famous blues records and things like that. These have these lovely postcards. Now they should have all been in one,
Like one fold continuous concertina.
but they've kind of split, but they are all there. But to have all of these in one, look at that, have all of these in one sort of go, it's pretty stunning. So yeah, it's nice to get these in. You don't see them very often, and you definitely don't see them in the condition they're in,
Or with the postcards at all.
Yeah, near mint, absolutely perfect. So yeah, it was really good to get hold of these. They're not cheap, but that's the way it is, unfortunately. Very collectible. So.
Yeah. And I guess also sometimes people have another edition in their collection that doesn't have the postcards in, or people are looking for, various bits to kind of piece it back together. Yeah. So it's nice. It's really nice to have in, and especially to have like a couple of them from the discography as well.
Yeah, in such good condition. So, but yeah.
Great. Lovely. Thank
Great.
you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of our aims with the podcast is we want to shine a light on local talent. So on this segment, we're going to talk about some of the local bands that we've seen who have come to our attention. Going forward, we're going to talk about as many as we can and try and shine a light on some of the gigs that are coming up as well. So first off, I want to talk about an amazing band called The Stamp. We saw them at District, was it December?
Back end of last year, November, December time, yeah.
And I just fell in love with them. It was a cold gig. I remember it being very cold, so it must be winter, yeah. And yeah, I thought it was just an explosive performance. They came out and even though it was cold and it was winter, they brought all the sunshine out and I just thought it was great. So a big band. I think maybe 7 or 8 members. 7
of them, really big percussion section, a bit of brass.
Yeah.
The lead singer's fab in terms of like grabbing.
Connor.
Connor's amazing in terms of like having a stage presence, and they're just such a good cohesive group. You can tell that like they've got that language where they can sort of all talk to each other whilst they're jamming and playing, and it just works really well. They're really natural at it.
One of the things I saw, there was an element of jamming there. Where they were improvising on the spot. There was people coming up on stage and leaving. And I just thought they were a great talent. And I think going forward, they're going to do some really big things. So hopefully we can do some stuff with them going forward.
Yeah, that would be great. I think they're really adaptable to sort of like that freestyle that they play. And there's like elements of like a little bit of reggae in there. Yeah. A little bit of, how would you describe it?
I would say there's obviously like rock guitar music, but there's also like hip hop beats. Yeah, there was reggae, like you say. Yeah, there was just all that lush instrumentation as well. Like, what would you call it? I don't know what those I'm waving my hands in the air. You know what I mean? What were they?
With the chimes.
Chimes. little known subject. Jess is a drummer, percussionist, and she couldn't remember the word chimes. So that's great.
You couldn't remember the word chimes.
I
I got the word chimes. I think they also had a vibra slap as well, and that's one of my favourite percussion instruments.
We were saying we were going to get a vibra slap for the show.
Yeah, they did inspire me to maybe buy a vibra slap for the show.
That's great. So who have you seen?
So I caught Shifu, which is a local band, back at Boot Fest, which was August Bank Holiday, which actually feels only like 5 minutes ago, but hey, it's been a moment. So yeah, they played Future Yard. So Boot Fest is run by Boot Magazine, which is a local music magazine that comes out across the city region.
We love Boot Magazine.
Boot, yeah, James, who's been doing amazing things with Boot to kind of like capture the music scene that's happening here, but also the bands that are coming to play at Liverpool. We stock them here. The other record shops stock them. Like, it's all across the city. So if you go to like a venue or a record shop, you should be able to find a copy. Nice. And also you can follow them on social media as well. But yeah, so James through Bootfest introduced me to Shifu. They were the headliner of the day. And it was bank holiday, but it was absolutely pouring it down. The sun was not shining on Birkenhead that day. But everybody stuck out until the very end to catch them as a headliner. And yeah, they've got this really, really cool sort of like alt rock scuzzy kind of style, definitely like influences of like the White Stripes,
nice,
a bit of like a little bit of PJ Harvey to go back to that. I really felt like the lead singer had a bit of stage presence like that. Nice. They're already signed up to the lineup for Sound City this year.
So it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really big moment for them.
For sure.
And they just brought out a new track called Do You Want My Number?
Yeah.
And they did quite a fun thing around that. So if you sort of pre-saved the track before it came out, you'd get a phone call with the band, which cool. I like the idea of people and bands being playful with the way they release music and engage with their online fan base as well. So yeah, that was really great. But yeah, they've got a really cool style to them. Their videos are like just shot really nicely, quite cinematic, and yeah, and the music sort of speaks for itself. But
I love that tune Smoke Show as well.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
That's really, really good. So yeah, definitely wants to watch. They're moving fast, and yeah, I'm really excited to see where they go in 2025.
Cool. Next one I'm going to talk about is the Cheap Thrills.
The Cheap Thrills from Wharton Vale.
So they came to my attention through that track Codependence, which is an absolute killer.
It's an anthem.
Sort of guitar-based indie music. But you dig beneath the surface and it's quite a complex arrangements, and I really think they're going places. It came to my attention as well because of the show at the Windsor, which is near where we live.
Yeah.
We were going to go to that, but something came up and I can't remember. And I don't know. Do you want to describe what that gig looks like?
Yeah. So I guess like the next day, just started to see like one video and then a second video, and then all these videos just started emerging, which is like just a pub filled with like people. You couldn't see any walls, you couldn't see any floor,
like a traditional pub as well.
Yeah. And then the pub was so full that then outside, well, you're filming inside, but all you could see is people's arms coming through the windows, and it almost looked like a scene out of Shaun of the Dead.
That's brilliant.
Like absolutely rammed. They blew the roof off it, and then like a week, 2 weeks later, they'd like sold out the Olympia. So
which is crazy.
I just love the fact that obviously they're becoming more established now. They're selling out big venues, but they're also gonna nip down the Windsor and play a last minute gig there for everybody, that they know all their friends and family and everybody from there. So yeah, really, really good set of lads.
There's so much talent in the city, and I think it's really important that we shine a light on it. And I know it sounds corny, but like almost try and provide a platform for bands to really communicate with their audience. And if we can help at all, then we will. And going forward, if there's any of you out there that want to be mentioned or come on the podcast, just please get in touch and let us know.
Yeah, I think obviously we're not from Liverpool. We've moved here.
Yeah.
I came here for uni. You came with me.
I followed.
You followed. And Liverpool's been such an amazing city for us to pursue our dreams and obviously open the record shop in 2023. And we have been sort of like welcomed with warm and open arms into the music community.
Yeah.
And the main thing that we want to do with this is, through all the stories and people talking to you in the shop about like what gigs they've got coming up, what kind of music they're into, it's kind of like taking that and bringing that into a space that then we can expand that and maybe reach some new people that don't necessarily know what's happening in Liverpool's music scene.
Yeah. We need to sing it from the rooftops because there, like I say, there's just so much talent here.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it goes under the radar slightly. You go to some gigs, then they're kind of well attended, but you get a feeling that these bands should be pulling much bigger crowds because of how good they are. And
the quality of like emerging bands is so high.
Yeah, so good.
And
Like,
there's always something to go and see as well.
we were in bands growing up, weren't we? And
We were shit.
we were like,
so no, like,
compared to this.
I mean, yeah, obviously, like, don't want to disrespect other people
speak
you've
for
worked
yourself.
with. Yeah, but like the quality of bands like now, and like the thought that they're putting into like their music and their videos and how they present themselves online, and
It's
yes,
incredible.
that has, I suppose, created like a whole new world of pressures that like we didn't have. But just they deserve
It's great
full rooms, and they deserve full shows. So go see your local bands and your local venues and support your local music scene.
We need to get out and start going to these gigs. So yeah, if we can help at all, we will. That brings us on to the next section. We're going to talk about some gigs that are up and coming, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, talking about local venues, talking about local bands at the end of January, from the 27th of January until the 2nd of Feb. It's annual event, which is Independent Venue Week.
It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be really good. So there's loads happening across the country. So you can go to any of your local venues and go and support them. You're really excited about a gig that's been rescheduled since before Christmas, right?
So I was going to go to this gig in December. It's Toy Car. I love this band. So if you get a chance, what venue is it at again?
It's at Jacaranda Baltic.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Baltic. I'm pretty sure it was at Baltic before Christmas, then it got rescheduled. But double check. It's definitely at the Jacaranda.
It's going to be great. I'm going to be there. Jess is going to be there.
That's on the 1st of February.
1st of Feb. Yeah. What else have we got coming up?
So within that week, there's loads of stuff happening across the city and the city region. So you've also got Heavy Lungs at Future Yard on the 27th of January. And they've got support from Eyesore and the Jinx, who are a local band. And also...
We've got some of their records in, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we've also got Eyesore's records in too. Then a band that we went to go see at Future Yard actually last time, a Bibio Sound Machine. Amazing.
Pull the rope.
A Bibio Sound Machine are back in Liverpool playing District on the 31st of January. Again, if you just want a super fun night out, what a stage presence.
Just incredible.
Incredible. The album's amazing. They're back, sort of still promoing and touring Pull the Rope. So yeah, that's at District, 31st of January. And then also that week, if you're kind of more on sort of the electronic music or like a DJ night out rather than bands, then you've got Queensway. They are an incredible collective doing amazing things and curating a night at Quarry, which is on the 31st of January.
Nice.
And that's got a couple of DJs, off the top of my head, DJ Fabrication and A Sound of Drowning as well, who are great. And obviously, we know a couple of them who come into the shop and dig through records too.
Brilliant. So make sure you hit that gig. And then on the 7th of Feb, it's the Brian Jonestown Massacre at the Olympia. This is going to be absolutely mind-blowing.
Can't wait for this.
I'm so looking forward to it. Tickets are already booked. So yeah, they're selling fast, so you've got to get your tickets now. So yeah, we are going to be airing an interview that we did with Anton Newcomb next week. So please join us for that. And we're going to be doing a giveaway. So yeah, do you want to say anything on that?
I mean, apart from... I'm just so excited. Well, first of all, it was an absolute pleasure and it was incredible to meet Anton. Thank you to him for being so generous with his time and talking about the BJM tour and what's coming up and what their plans are for that. He has a really special connection with Liverpool and he talks about that in the interview. And he's really passionate about supporting like independent record shops. And so, yeah, super grateful for Anton coming in to talking to us. And then, also very excited to announce what that giveaway is as well.
It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, so if you're a Brian Jonestown Massacre fan, tune in, listen to that interview. Definitely like check our social media and stuff for the giveaway. You're definitely going to want to know and see and take part in that.
It was crazy meeting one of my heroes. You know, I think it was 18 years to the day that I first saw them live, and to be interviewing him then was very intense and also intimidating for me, being my first interview that I've ever done. So for it to be Anton, I was so made up. And so really excited to show you that next week. So please, join us for that. So if you've made it this far, thanks for checking out the podcast.
We're really grateful for you listening to this very first one. We're super excited to dive into different things each week, whether that be different genres, obviously talking about local bands and who's coming to the city and sharing records. We're super grateful. If you are interested in dropping by the shop, we're on Suffolk Street, we're in Liverpool. We have a website, which is deadairvinyl.co.uk, and you can also follow us on social media, which is @deadairvinyl.
Until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.